Commander Lee Minho stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Harmony. Through the large windows, he could see the massive council station floating in space. The station was huge, bigger than any city on Earth. Its silver walls gleamed in the light of the nearby star Vega. "Sir, we are getting a message from the station," said Lieutenant Park Jinwoo from his seat at the communication desk. "Put it through," Minho replied. His voice was calm, but inside he felt worried. Earth had been called to this meeting, but nobody knew why. A voice filled the bridge. It sounded cold and strange. "Earth vessel Harmony, you are cleared to dock. At Bay 7, Ambassador Park, Suna must report to Council Chamber 1 immediately upon arrival." Minho looked at the woman sitting beside him. Ambassador Park Suna was Earth's top diplomat. She had been dealing with alien races for 20 years. Even she looked nervous today. "Any idea what this is about?" Minho asked her quietly. Suna shook her head. "The message just said urgent council, business. That usually means trouble for someone." The Harmony moved slowly toward the docking bay. As they got closer, Minho could see other ships from across the galaxy. There were the sleek silver ships of the Valorians, the black triangle ships of the Nixari, and dozens of others he did not recognize. Earth had been part of the Galactic Council for 300 years now, but humans were always treated like the youngest children in a family of adults. Other races had been traveling between stars for thousands of years before humans even discovered fire. The docking was smooth. Minho had trained his crew well. As the ship settled into place, he turned to Suna. "Good luck in there," he said. "I have a feeling I am going to need it," she replied. Suna walked through the station corridors. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that glowed softly. Alien beings of all shapes and sizes moved past her. Some had multiple arms. Others had no arms at all. Some walked on two legs like humans. Others floated in the air. Most of them ignored her. A few gave her looks that seemed unfriendly. Suna tried not to think about what that might mean. She reached Council Chamber 1 and stopped. The doors were 20 feet tall and made of pure white metal. They opened silently as she approached. The chamber inside was enormous. Seats were arranged in circles, rising up like a theater. In the center was a small platform where speakers stood. Hundreds of alien beings sat in the seats, all looking down at the platform. Ambassador Park Suna of Earth announced a voice from somewhere in the ceiling. "Please take your position." Suna walked to the platform. She felt very small with all those eyes watching her. At the highest level of seats, she could see the council leaders. There was High Counselor Velik of the Valorians, his large head completely hairless and his eyes glowing blue. Next to him sat Prime Engineer Nexus of the Nexari, more machine than living being. "Earth stands," accused Velik began. His voice entered Suna's mind directly. The Valorians could speak with thoughts instead of words. "Your species has shown dangerous behavior." Suna's heart started beating faster. "What behavior?" she asked. "Earth has followed all council laws." "You expand too quickly," said Nexus. His voice sounded like metal grinding against metal. "In 50 years, humans have built colonies on 47 worlds. Other species took centuries to expand so far. We follow the settlement rules." Suna replied. "We only colonize uninhabited worlds." "That is not the issue," Velik said, inside her mind. "The issue is your nature. Humans are unpredictable. Violent, you solve problems with conflict instead of wisdom." Murmurs filled the chamber. Suna could hear agreement from many of the alien voices. "We have had peace for 60 years, she argued. "Earth has not fought any wars since joining the council. But you prepare for war," Nexus said. "Your military grows stronger every year. You develop new weapons, new ships. Why does a peaceful species need such things?" Suna felt trapped. Earth did build ships and weapons, but only for defense. The galaxy was a dangerous place. Pirates, dangerous animals on new worlds, natural disasters that required military help to fix. But she could see that the council did not want to hear these reasons. "Perhaps," Velik continued, "it is time to solve the human problem once and for all." The chamber became completely quiet. Suna could hear her own heartbeat. "What are you saying?" she asked. High Counselor Velik stood up. All around the chamber, other council members did the same. "The Galactic Council has voted," Velik announced. "To everyone, Earth is too dangerous to remain free in civilized space. Humanity has 30 days to surrender all military vessels to Council forces. All human colonies beyond the solar system must be abandoned. Earth will accept permanent quarantine to its home system." Suna felt like she had been hit in the stomach. "You cannot do this. Earth has done nothing wrong." "Earth has done nothing right either," Nexus said. "Your species learns too fast, adapts too quickly. You take our technology and make it better. This threatens the order we have maintained for thousands of years. Other species have tried to upset this order before," Velik added. "We dealt with them. Now we deal with you." The meaning was clear. Other species had been destroyed for being different. Now it was humanity's turn. "The council has spoken," Velik said. "You have 30 days. Use them wisely." The chamber began. Too empty. Alien beings filed out, many of them talking excitedly. Suna stood alone on the platform, her mind racing. She thought about Earth, about the billions of humans who had no idea what was coming. She thought about the colonies, the families, who had built new lives on distant worlds. She thought about humanity's children, who might never see the stars because of this decision. As she walked back to the Harmony, Suna made her own decision. She would not let this happen without a fight. Somehow, humanity would find a way to survive. They always had before. But first, she had to get home and warn everyone. The clock was already ticking. The news spread across the galaxy faster than any human ship could travel. Every alien news network carried the same story. The Galactic Council had finally dealt with the human problem. Earth was being quarantined like a dangerous disease. The planet New Sol, colonist Kim Hannah watched the news with her family. Her husband Taiwu held their young daughter close as the reporter spoke. The council decision is final, the alien reporter said. All human colonies must be evacuated within 30 days. Any humans found outside their home system after that time will be arrested. What does this mean for us? Their daughter asked. She was only 8 years old and did not understand why everyone looked so scared. It means we have to go home, Hannah said softly, but inside, she was angry. This was their home. They had spent 15 years building a life here. Their farm grew food that fed thousands of people. Why should they leave because some aliens were afraid of humans? Back on Earth, President Kim Dae-ho sat in his office surrounded by advisors. The room was full of shouting voices and worried faces. We have to fight, said Defense Minister Yoon Seo-kajin. We cannot just give up everything we have built. Fight with what? Asked Foreign Minister Lee Chae-young. The Nexari have 1,000 ships for every one of ours. The Valorians can read our minds and know our plans before we make them. President Dae-ho raised his hand for silence. How many humans live in the colonies? He asked. Nearly 50 million, replied his aide. Spread across 47 worlds. And how many ships do we have to evacuate them? Not enough, Seo-chin admitted. Even if we use every transport ship, every cargo vessel, it would take months to move everyone, which we do not have, Dae-ho said. He looked older than his 60 years. The weight of leading humanity had never felt heavier. On the colony world of New Busan, Mayor Park Kung-hoo called an emergency meeting. The town hall was packed with colonists. Outside, Nexari warships hung in the sky like black clouds. They want us gone in 30 days, Kung-hoo told the crowd, but our transport ships cannot carry everyone at once. What about our belongings? Asked Farmer Choi Mitsu. My family has worked this land for 20 years. Leave everything, said a cold voice from the back of the hall. A Nexari officer had entered. It was tall and thin, more machine than living being. You are lucky we allow you to leave with your lives. The crowd began to shout angry words at the alien. The Nexari officer did not seem bothered. Your species is a virus, it said. Viruses must be contained before they spread too far. Meanwhile, in the deep archives of the council station, Dr. Choi Yuna was working alone. She had stayed behind when Ambassador Suna left, claiming she needed to finish some research. But her real purpose was different. Yuna was Earth's best xenobiologist. She studied alien life forms, but she also studied alien history, and she had found something disturbing in the old records. The files were marked as classified. But Yuna had learned to hack alien computer systems years ago. What she found made her blood run cold. Humans were not the first species to face this treatment. Over the past 1,000 years, 7 other races had been declared too dangerous by the Council. The Taraxians, who could move through solid objects, the Mindari, who were too intelligent, the Korthans, who bred too quickly. All of them had been quarantined first. Then, when they tried to resist, they had been destroyed. Yuna copied all the files to a hidden data crystal. She had to get this information back to Earth. Humanity needed to know what they were really facing. On Earth, the protests had begun. Millions of humans filled the streets of every major city. They carried signs and shouted demands. Do not abandon our colonies, they said. Fight for human rights. But President Dae-ho knew the truth. Earth's military was not strong enough to fight the entire galaxy. The human fleet had only 300 ships. The Council could send 10,000 without breaking a sweat. General Chen Woojin, Earth's top military commander, met with the president in secret. What are our real options? Dae-ho asked. Publicly, we have none, Woojin said. We have to appear, to follow their orders. And privately, Woojin smiled grimly. That is a different story. We have been preparing for something like this for decades. What do you mean? Some of us never trusted the aliens completely, Woojin explained. We have secret projects, hidden bases, emergency plans. Tell me, not here. Too many years, even on Earth, but I can tell you this, humanity will not go quietly into the night. On the colony world of New Jeju, engineer Bae Soman was working frantically in her laboratory. The evacuation ships would arrive soon, but she was not planning to leave. She had discovered something that might change everything. For years, Soman had been studying alien technology. She was one of the best reverse engineers in human space. She could take apart any alien device and figure out how it worked. Recently, she had been working on Nexari shield generators. The Nexari shields were supposed to be unbreakable. But Soman had found a weakness. The shields had to cycle power every few minutes to prevent overheating. During those few seconds, they were vulnerable. She had also been studying Valorian telepathic enhancers, the devices that let Valorians read minds from great distances. Soman discovered that the enhancer could be jammed with the right kind of electromagnetic pulse. But her greatest discovery was an FTL drive technology. By combining parts from different alien systems, she had created something new. A drive that was smaller, faster, and completely invisible to Council sensors. As the evacuation ships landed outside her lab, Soman made a choice. She would hide her research and herself. Let the Council think all humans were leaving. They would learn too late that some had stayed behind. Back on Earth, Ambassador Suna met with President Deho in his private office. The Council means to destroy us, she reported. This quarantine is just the first step. I know, Deho replied. Dr. Choi found records of what happened to other species. Then we fight, we prepare to fight. But first, we appear to surrender. Let them think they have one. Outside the window, they could see human ships taking off. The great evacuation had begun. To the watching galaxy, it looked like humanity was giving up without a fight, but in secret bases and hidden laboratories across human space, a different kind of preparation was beginning. The galaxy had humiliated Earth. Soon, they would learn that humans did not stay humiliated for long. 3 weeks had passed since the Council's ultimatum. To the watching galaxy, it seemed like humanity was following orders. Transport ships moved between Earth and the colonies every day, carrying people and belongings back to the home system. But, on the mining asteroid called Rock 7, something different was happening. Captain Kong, Ji-hoon stood in a hidden chamber deep inside the asteroid. Around him, 30 other humans sat in a circle. These were not ordinary colonists. They were former Earth Defense Force officers, engineers, and scientists who had refused to give up. The official evacuation ships left yesterday, Ji-hoon told the group. As far as the Council knows, Rock 7 is empty. How many of us are there? Asked Dr. Song Maiyan, a weapons specialist who had supposedly returned to Earth. More than they think, Ji-hoon replied. We have hidden groups on 15 different worlds, maybe 3,000 people total. The resistance had been forming quietly for weeks. While most humans followed the evacuation orders, others had simply disappeared. The Council assumed they had gone home with everyone else. On the colony world of New Inchen, Farmer Yusei was supposed to be gone, but he was hiding in the mountains with 50 other colonists. They had built secret shelters and were growing food in hidden caves. Why should we leave? Seng-yoon asked his wife Yoonju as they worked in their underground garden. This is our home. We built it with our own hands. The Council will come looking for us eventually. Yoonju replied, let them come. We know these mountains better than any alien. Meanwhile, on Rock 7, Engineer Bae Soman was working in her secret laboratory. She had faked her evacuation and stayed behind with her most important research. Show me what you have found, Captain Ji-hoon said as he entered her lab. Soman activated a holographic display. It showed the design of a new type of faster-than drive. I call it the Ghost Drive, she explained. It combines Nexari efficiency with Valorian energy control and something completely new. What makes it special? 3 things, Soman said, counting on her fingers. First, it is faster than anything the Council has. Second, it uses less energy. Third, and most important, it is completely invisible to their sensors. Ji-hoon studied the design. How invisible? A ship using this drive would be like a shadow. The Council scanners would not even know it was there. How long to build one? If we can get the materials, maybe 2 months. Ji-hoon smiled. I think we can get materials. On Earth, General Chen Woojin was meeting with a small group of trusted officers in a bunker deep underground. The room was shielded against all forms of listening devices. What is the status of Project Horizon? Woojin asked. Colonel Kim Ginguk opened a secure file. We have 7 shipyards operating in secret, all hidden in asteroid fields or on uninhabited moons. Total production capacity is 100 ships per year. And the special projects, the stealth frigates, are ready for testing. The new plasma cannons can punch through Nexari shields. The quantum jammers will block Valorian telepathy, Woojin nodded. Earth's military had been preparing for this possibility for 20 years. Not all humans trusted the aliens. Some had always believed that one day, humanity would need to stand alone. What about recruitment? Difficult, admitted Colonel Kim. Most people still think we should try to make peace with the Council. They will change their minds when they see what the Council really plans. On the Council station, Dr. Choi Yoon was still gathering intelligence about the Council's past actions. She had found more disturbing information. The Council did not just quarantine dangerous species. They studied them first. They learned everything about their biology, their psychology, their weaknesses. Then they used that knowledge to destroy them completely. The Taraxians had been wiped out with a virus that targeted their unique DNA. The Mindari had been driven insane with telepathic attacks. The Korthans had been hunted down by automated, killer machines. Una realized that the 30-day deadline was not about evacuation. It was about preparation. The Council was using this time to study humanity and plan their destruction. She had to warn Earth, but leaving the station would be suspicious. Instead, she sent a coded message hidden in a routine research report. She could only hope someone would understand its meaning. Back on Rock 7, Captain Jihoon received an encrypted message from Earth. It was from General Woojin and contained only a few words. "The fish are ready to swim." Jihoon smiled. That was the code phrase, meaning Earth's secret fleet was operational. He called together his senior officers. "It is time to make contact with the other groups," he said. "We are going to test the Council's resolve." That night, using Summon's new communication system, Jihoon sent messages to resistance cells across human space. The words were simple: Operation Wildfire begins tomorrow. On New Inchin, Sang-Yoon received the message while working in his hidden garden. He looked at his wife and nodded. They had been waiting for this moment. On the trading station called Haven Port, Merchant Captain Lee Yoonjin got the same message. She had been pretending to follow trade restrictions while secretly mapping Council patrol routes on the research station in the Kepler system. Scientist Dr. Park Jisoo received her orders. She had been studying Council technology and had discovered several important weaknesses all across the scattered human colonies. The resistance was awakening. They had been quiet for 3 weeks, letting the Council think they had won. But humans had a saying: the nail that sticks up gets hammered down, but the nail that hides can strike back. The next morning, Base Omen completed the first prototype of her ghost drive. It was smaller than a briefcase, but could power a ship faster and more quietly than anything in the galaxy. "Ready for testing," she told Captain Jihoon. They installed the drive in a small scout ship. Jihoon climbed into the pilot seat while Soman monitored from the ground. "Activating drive," Jihoon said into his communicator. The ship vanished. Not just from sight, but from every sensor on Rock 7. Even Summon's own instruments showed empty space where the ship had been. "Jihoon, can you hear me?" She called. "I am here," his voice replied, flying circles around the asteroid. "Your sensors cannot see me at all." When the ship reappeared, both Jihoon and Soman were grinning. "The Council thinks they know everything about us," Jihoon said. "They think we are predictable. They are about to learn how wrong they are." As he spoke, similar scenes were playing. Out across human space, the resistance was no longer hiding. They were preparing to strike back. The Council had humiliated humanity, but they had made one critical mistake. They had underestimated human determination. Admiral Chen Woojin stood on the bridge of the battleship Thunder, hidden deep inside the asteroid field of the Ceres system. Around him, the secret human fleet was finally revealed. 50 ships hung in the darkness, all invisible to Council sensors. They had been built over 20 years in hidden shipyards, using technology stolen and improved from a dozen alien races. "Status report," Woojin commanded. "All ships ready for combat," reported Captain Nam Haijin from the destroyer Lightning. "The new plasma cannons are fully charged. Ghost drives are operational on all vessels," added Commander Oh Sung-ho from the stealth frigate Shadow. Woojin smiled grimly. The Council thought they knew everything about human military strength. They had counted Earth's official fleet and decided humans were helpless. They had no idea about these ships. On Rock 7, Captain Jihoon was coordinating with resistance cells across the galaxy. The new communication system Soman had built allowed instant contact between all human groups, completely undetectable by Council monitoring. Report from New Inchin came the voice of Farmer Sang. "We have located the main Council surveillance station. It is lightly defended." "Haven Port reporting," said Merchant Captain Lee Yoon-jin. "I have mapped all Council patrol routes in this sector. They follow the same pattern every day." "Research Station Kepler here," reported Dr. Park Ji. "I have finished analyzing Council shield technology. I know how to overload their power systems." Jihoon listened to each report carefully. The resistance had been busy. While the Council thought humans were fleeing in panic, they had actually been gathering intelligence and preparing for war. But Jihoon had received disturbing news from Dr. Choi Yuna on the Council station. Her coded messages revealed the Council's true plan. They were not just planning to quarantine humanity. They were planning to destroy every human in the galaxy. "The evacuation deadline ends in 3 days," Jihoon told his officers. "After that, they will begin the extermination. We have to act first." On the Council station, Yuna had discovered even more terrible secrets. Deep in the classified archives, she found the Council's real history. The Galactic Council had not been formed to keep peace. It had been created to prevent any species from becoming too powerful. For 1,000 years, they had destroyed any race that showed signs of becoming a threat. The Valorians and Nexari were not the leaders because they were wise. They were the leaders because they had eliminated all their competition. Yuna copied the files to multiple data crystals. This information had to reach the resistance. Humanity needed to know they were not fighting for freedom. They were fighting for survival. But as she worked, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Security forces were moving through the corridors, checking every room. "Attention, all personnel," announced a Valorian voice. "We are conducting a security sweep. All beings must remain in their current locations." Yuna quickly hid the data crystals and destroyed all evidence of her research. If the council discovered what she had learned, they would kill her immediately. On Earth, President Kim Dae-ho met with his cabinet in the secure bunker beneath the capital. The official government was still pretending to cooperate with the council, but secretly, they were coordinating with the resistance. "What is our real military situation?" Dae-ho asked General Woojin through an encrypted channel. "Better than the council thinks," Woojin replied. "We have the hidden fleet, the resistance cells, and something else they do not expect." "What allies?" Woojin explained that the resistance had made contact with other oppressed species. The insectoid klaxons had been enslaved by the council for centuries, forced to work in dangerous mines. The aquatic hydrants had been restricted to a few water worlds, forbidden from expanding their territory. "They are tired of council rule," Woojin said. "They want to fight back, but they have been waiting for someone to lead them. And they think humans can do that. They think humans are crazy enough to try." On the mining world of Titan 7, a secret meeting was taking place. Commander Park Jinsu of the Human Resistance sat across from Click-Clack, a klaxon warrior whose real name was impossible for humans to pronounce. The klaxon looked like a giant insect, with 4 arms and compound eyes. But when it spoke through its translator, its voice was filled with anger. "My people have dug council mines for 800 years. Click-Clack said. "We have asked for freedom. They give us nothing but more work. If we fight together, we can win," Jinsu replied. "Humans have new technology the council has never seen. What do you need from us?" "Ships, warriors, and knowledge of council weaknesses." Click-Clack clicked its mandibles in what humans had learned was a smile. "This we can give." Similar meetings were happening across the galaxy. On the water world of Aquarius, human diplomats met with the Hydran Collective. In the frozen asteroid belt of Sigma Centauri, they spoke with survivors of the supposedly extinct Taraxian race. Each oppressed species brought something valuable to the Alliance. The klaxons had thousands of warriors and knowledge of council. Military tactics. The Hydrans had ships that could travel through dimensions humans did not even understand. The Taraxians could phase through solid matter, making them perfect spies and saboteurs. But it was the humans who brought the most important thing, hope. For centuries, no one had seriously challenged the council. The oppressed species had accepted their fate because resistance seemed impossible. But humans were different. They refused to accept defeat, even when facing impossible odds. Back on Rock 7, Engineer Base Soman had finished her greatest creation. It was not just a ghost drive, but an entire stealth system that could hide massive ships from every type of sensor the council used. "How many ships can this system hide?" asked Captain Ji-hoon. "All of them," Soman replied. "Every ship in our fleet, plus any allied vessels, can become completely invisible. For how long? As long as they need to be. The system draws power from the ship's main reactor, so it can run indefinitely." Ji-hoon realized what this meant. They could move their entire fleet anywhere in the galaxy without the council knowing. They could strike at any target, retreat before the council could respond, and disappear completely. But the council was not stupid. They had noticed that human evacuation ships sometimes arrived with fewer people than expected. They had detected unusual energy readings from supposedly empty worlds. They knew something was happening, even if they did not know what. High Counselor Velik called an emergency session of the council. "The humans are planning something," he announced to the assembled leaders. "We should end this now, before they can act." "The deadline has not expired," pointed out Prime Engineer Nexus. "We agreed to give them 30 days. 30 days was a mistake," Velik replied. "We should have destroyed them immediately." But other council members disagreed. They wanted to study humanity more before deciding how to eliminate them. The debate continued for hours. While unknown to them, human spy devices recorded every word. Dr. Yuna had managed to plant listening devices throughout the council station before the security sweep began. Every council meeting, every private conversation, every military briefing was being transmitted to the resistance. The humans knew exactly what the council was planning. More importantly, they knew when the council would strike. The extermination fleet would launch in 2 days. One day before the official deadline expired, hundreds of council warships would surround Earth and destroy every human installation in the galaxy simultaneously. But the council had made a fatal error. They had planned their attack based on their knowledge of human military strength. They knew about Earth's official fleet of 300 ships. They had calculated exactly how much firepower would be needed to overwhelm human defenses. They had no idea that humanity's real fleet was 10 times larger, completely invisible, and already in position to strike first. The gathering storm was about to break. and the Council was about to learn that they had awakened something they could not control. Operation Wildfire began at exactly midnight, Galaxy Standard Time. Across 12 star systems, human resistance fighters struck at the same moment. The attacks were swift, precise, and completely unexpected. On the surveillance station orbiting New Enshin, the Nexari guards never saw what hit them. Captain Song, Gion, led her team through the station's ventilation system, moving like shadows. The Nexari relied on their sensors, but the humans had learned to fool those sensors months ago. Target the power core, Gion whispered into her communicator. Disable, do not destroy. We want prisoners, not bodies. Her team moved with practiced efficiency. Within minutes, the station's lights went out and its weapon systems shut down. The Nexari guards found themselves trapped in their own facility. Helpless as humans took control. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. On Haven, port, Merchant Captain Li Yunjin used her knowledge of patrol routes to ambush a Council patrol ship. The Valorian crew tried to read her mind to predict her tactics, but Yunjin's thoughts were protected by Dr. Park Jisu's new mental shields. Surrender your vessel, Yunjin broadcast to the surprised aliens. Your weapons are disabled and your engines are offline. The Valorian commander's telepathic voice filled with confusion. How did you hide your thoughts from us? Humans are full of surprises, Yunjin replied. On Research Station Kepler, Dr. Park Jisu led a team of scientists in capturing the Council's main data center. Years of studying alien technology had taught her exactly where to hit. The facility's shields collapsed in seconds, its defensive systems turned against themselves. Download everything, she ordered her team. Military codes, fleet positions, secret research. We need it all. But the most important strike happened on Rock 7, where Captain Ji-hoon himself led an assault on the Council's regional command center. This was the station that coordinated all Council activities in human space. Capturing it would blind the Council to human activities for weeks. The battle was fierce but brief. The Council defenders expected human ships to announce themselves, to follow the traditional rules of space combat. Instead, they faced ghost ships that appeared from nowhere, struck with devastating precision, and vanished before return fire could be aimed. This is impossible, transmitted the station's Nexari commander. Your ships do not appear on any of our sensors, that is the point, Ji-hoon replied. Surrender now and your crew will be treated with respect. Continue fighting and we will take the station by force. The commander chose to surrender. Within hours, the humans had complete control of the most important Council facility in the sector, but the real prize came from Dr. Choi Yuna on the Council station itself. She had finally found a way to transmit her stolen data to the Resistance. Using a maintenance robot she had reprogrammed, she uploaded terabytes of classified information to a communications satellite. The data revealed everything. The Council's military strength, their secret bases, their plans for destroying humanity, and most importantly, the locations of other oppressed species who had been forced into hiding. Admiral Chen Wujin received the data aboard the battleship Thunder. As he read through the files, his expression grew darker. They were never going to let us live, he told his officers. The quarantine was just a cover story. They planned to exterminate every human in the galaxy. What are our orders, sir? Asked Captain Nam Haijin. We show them what happens when they threaten humanity, Wujin replied. All ships, prepare for combat. We are going to hit them where it hurts most. The Council's response was swift but confused. High Counselor, Velik called an emergency session, his telepathic voice filled with rage. The humans have violated the agreement, he announced. They have attacked our facilities and stolen our secrets. How is this possible? Demanded Prime Engineer Nextus. Our sensors detected no human ships in any of the attack systems. They have developed some form of stealth technology, replied Intelligence Chief Sorak of the Draconian Consortium. Our monitoring stations are reporting phantom contacts. Ships that appear and disappear at will. Valak's mental voice grew cold. Then we advanced the timeline. Launch the extermination fleet immediately. But when the Council tried to contact their regional command centers, half of them did not respond. The human strikes had been more effective than they had realized. Critical facilities across the galaxy were either destroyed or in human hands. We are flying blind, admitted Admiral Krex, the Council's top military commander. The humans have disrupted our entire intelligence network. On the bridge of the Thunder, Admiral Wujin was coordinating with the resistance cells. The first phase of Operation Wildfire had succeeded beyond their wildest hopes. Ji-hoon, what is your status? He asked. Rock 7 is secure, came the reply. We have captured enough intelligence to plan our next moves. The Council fleet is already launching, but they do not know where we are. Yunjin report from the trade routes. All Council patrol ships in our sector have been neutralized. The merchant captain replied. The shipping lanes are clear for our supply runs. Dr. Park, how are our new allies responding? Better than expected, Jisoo answered from her captured research station. The Klaxons are mobilizing their entire fleet. The Hydrons are emerging from the deep ocean worlds. Even the Taraxians are coming out of hiding. Wujin allowed himself a small smile. The first phase had been about disrupting council operations. The second phase would be about showing the galaxy that the council could be defeated. But the humans had learned an important lesson from the council's own history. They would not make the same mistake as the other oppressed species. They would not fight alone, and they would not fight fair. All ships, this is Admiral Wujin, he broadcast to the entire human fleet. We have struck the first blow, but this is only the beginning. The council has spent 1,000 years believing they are invincible. Today, we begin teaching them otherwise. The hidden human fleet moved out from their asteroid hiding places. 50 ships became invisible ghosts, spreading across the galaxy to link up with their new allies. The council's extermination fleet was large and powerful, but it was designed to fight a conventional war against a desperate, outgunned enemy. Instead, they would face something completely different. They would face an alliance of every species the council had ever oppressed, led by humans who refused to follow the rules of civilized warfare. The Valorians had made their first mistake when they assumed human thoughts could be read. The Nexari had made their second mistake when they assumed human technology could not match their own. Now they were about to make their third and final mistake. They assumed that humans would fight like a civilized species, following the established rules of galactic warfare. They were about to learn that humans had never been civilized, and that was exactly what made them so dangerous. As the council fleet advanced toward Earth, preparing for what they thought would be an easy victory, the human alliance was moving into position. The hunters were about to become the hunted, and the galaxy was about to witness the rise of something it had never seen before, a species that fought not just for territory or resources, but for the simple right to exist free from the fear of extinction. General Park Minwoo stood on the bridge of the Alliance command ship Freedom, watching as the most unlikely fleet in galactic history assembled around him. Human ships hung next to Klaxon swarm vessels that looked like flying hives. Hydran ships moved through dimensions that human eyes could barely see, appearing and disappearing like mirages. Taraxian vessels phased in and out of solid matter, their ghostly forms barely visible even when fully materialized. Status report from all fleet commanders, Minwoo ordered. Klaxon swarm alpha ready, came the translated voice of war leader Buzzclick. 400 ships, 20,000 warriors. We hunger for battle. Hydran deep fleet operational, reported fleet singer Coral Dreams in her melodic aquatic language. 100 vessels capable of dimension shift attacks. The deep currents flow with us. Taraxian Ghost Squadron prepared, whispered Phase Captain Whisperwalk. 50 ships that exist between reality and shadow. We remember our fallen brothers. Minwoo nodded grimly. Each species brought unique capabilities that the council had never faced in combination. But more importantly, they brought centuries of anger and resentment. The Klaxons had been enslaved for 800 years, forced to mine dangerous materials while their population slowly declined. The Hydrans had been restricted to 12 water worlds, forbidden from exploring the galaxy they had once freely traveled. The Taraxians had been hunted nearly to extinction, forced to hide in dimensions between reality and dream. All of them had one thing in common: they had been oppressed by the Galactic Council. Intelligence update from Dr. Choi, came the voice of Captain Ji-hoon from his command ship. The Council extermination fleet has launched. 600 ships heading for Earth, plus support fleets moving to surround all human colonies. How long until they reach Earth? Minwoo asked. 18 hours at maximum speed. Then we have 18 hours to change the course of galactic history. The plan was complex but simple in its boldness. Instead of defending Earth directly, the Alliance would strike at the Council's home systems. While the Council fleet was busy destroying what they thought was humanity's last stronghold, the Alliance would capture the Council's seat of power. But first, they had to prove that the Council could be defeated. All ships, prepare for Operation Chaos Storm, Minwoo announced. We are going to hit 12 Council systems simultaneously. Show the galaxy that the age of Council dominance is over. The first target was the Valorian home system. For 1,000 years the Valorians had used their telepathic abilities to dominate other species. They had never faced an enemy they could not read, predict, defeat. Captain Song Gion led the human stealth squadron into Valorian space. Her ships were completely invisible to Valorian sensors, but more importantly, her cruise mines were shielded by Dr. Park Jisoo's quantum mental barriers. Valorian patrol ships ahead, reported her sensor officer. They are trying to scan our thoughts. Let them try, Gion replied. They will find nothing but static. The Valorian patrol commander was confused. His telepathic probes found empty space where his sensors detected energy signatures. It was as if the attacking ships had no crews, no minds to read. Impossible, he transmitted to his base. How can ships fly without Pontius pilots? His answer came in the form of plasma fire that disabled his engines and weapons. The human ships appeared around him like materializing ghosts, their weapons already locked on target. Meanwhile, the Klaxon swarm was attacking the Nexari industrial complex at Forge Station. The Nexari had always relied on their superior technology to overwhelm enemies with raw firepower. They had never faced an enemy that attacked like a plague of insects. War leader Buzzclick led 400 small, fast ships in a coordinated assault that the Nexari computers could not track. Each Klaxon ship was tiny compared to a Nexari battleship, but together they moved like a single organism. Target their shield generators, Buzzclick commanded his swarm. Many small cuts can kill the largest prey. The Nexari defenders tried to engage the swarm with their massive weapons, but it was like trying to swat flies with a hammer. For every Klaxon ship they destroyed, 10 more slipped through their defenses to strike vital systems. In the deep space around the water world of Aquarius Prime, the Hydran fleet was demonstrating why the Council had originally feared them. Fleetsinger, Coral Dreams led her ships in attacks that came from dimensions the Council had forgotten existed. Dimensional jump in 3.2.1. She sang in her beautiful voice. The Hydran ships vanished from normal space and reappeared inside the Council defensive perimeter. Their weapons fired from impossible angles, striking targets that should have been protected by shields and armor. The Council defenders tried to return fire, but the Hydran ships had already shifted back to their home dimension. The attacks continued for hours, a steady harassment that slowly wore down the Council forces. But the most terrifying assault came from the Taraxian Ghost Squadron. Phase Captain Whisperwalk led his surviving people in an attack on the Council's maximum security prison, where political prisoners from a dozen species had been held for centuries. The Taraxian ships phased through the prison's shields and walls as if they were not there. Council guards found themselves facing enemies that could walk through solid matter, strike from within sealed rooms, and disappear into dimensions that sensors could not detect. Free all prisoners, Whisperwalk commanded his warriors. Let the Council face the judgment of those they have wronged. Within hours, the most secure prison in the galaxy was empty. Thousands of political prisoners, freedom fighters, and resistance leaders from across the galaxy were free for the first time in decades. Back on the command ship Freedom, General Minwu was coordinating all 12 simultaneous attacks. The results were better than he had hoped. Council defense forces are in full retreat from the Valorian system, reported Captain Gion. We have captured 3 military bases and disabled their main communication array. Forge Station has fallen, announced war leader Buzzclick. The Nexari industrial capacity is reduced by 40%. Aquarius Prime is liberated, sang Fleetsinger Coral Dreams. The water worlds are free for the first time in 3 centuries. Political prisoners have been released from 7 detention facilities, whispered Whisperwalk. The underground resistance networks are being reactivated, but the most important success came from an unexpected source. On the Council station itself, Dr. Choi Yuna had finally made her move. Using the chaos of the attacks as cover, she had activated a virus she had planted in the Council's central computer system. The virus was based on human computer code, something the alien systems had never encountered before. Uploading complete, she transmitted to the Alliance fleet. I have all their military codes, fleet positions, and secret research data. More importantly, I have the locations of every oppressed species the Council has hidden away. Admiral Wujin received the data aboard the Thunder as his fleet moved toward the Council's home system. What he saw amazed him. There were dozens of species the galaxy thought were extinct. Hundreds of worlds where oppressed peoples lived in hiding, thousands of resistance fighters who have been waiting for someone to give them hope. Send this data to every communication network in the galaxy. Wujin ordered, let everyone see what the Council has been hiding. Within hours, the stolen data was spreading across galactic networks faster than the Council could stop it. Species that had been told they were alone discovered that they were part of a vast community of the oppressed. On Earth, President Kim Dae-ho watched the reports flooding in. The attacks had succeeded beyond their wildest dreams, but more importantly, they had awakened something the Council had tried to suppress for 1,000 years. Hope. The Council fleet is still heading for Earth, reported his military aide. They will arrive in 6 hours. Let them come, Dae-ho replied. They think they are coming to destroy the last humans. Instead, they are walking into a trap that will end their reign of terror forever. The Alliance had done more than strike back at their oppressors. They had shown the galaxy that the Council was not invincible. All across civilized space, oppressed peoples were rising up, demanding freedom, and looking to the human-led Alliance for leadership. The Council's 1,000-year empire was crumbling, and they still did not understand what had hit them. The final battle began as the Council's extermination fleet emerged from hyperspace around Earth. 600 warships, the largest military force ever assembled, spread out in attack formation. They expected to find a desperate planet defended by a few hundred primitive human vessels. Instead, they found themselves surrounded. Admiral Wujin watched from the Bridge of the Thunder as the Council fleet realized their mistake. Human ships decloaked on all sides, supported by Klaxon swarms, Hydran dimension shifters, and Taraxian ghost vessels. But that was not the biggest surprise. Ships from 50 different species had joined the Alliance. Word of the successful attacks had spread across the galaxy, and oppressed peoples everywhere had risen up to join the fight. Council Fleet Commander Krex Wujin broadcast on all frequencies. You are surrounded and outnumbered. I offer you one chance to surrender. The reply came from High Counselor Velek himself. His telepathic voice was filled with rage and disbelief. Impossible. You are primitives, savages. How can you challenge the natural order of the galaxy? Because the natural order you created was built on fear and oppression, Wujin replied. Today, that ends. Commander Li Minu, now captain of the upgraded Harmony, led the first wave of human ships. The Council forces tried to form defensive lines, but they were using tactics designed for conventional warfare. The Alliance fought like nothing they had ever seen. Human ships struck with surgical precision, disabling rather than destroying when possible. Klaxon swarms overwhelmed individual targets through sheer numbers. Hydron vessels attacked from impossible angles, appearing from dimensional spaces the Council could not reach. Taraxian ships phased through enemy hulls to strike from within, but the most devastating attack came from the newly freed political prisoners. Thousands of resistance fighters who had been imprisoned for decades now flew alongside the Alliance fleet, their hatred of the Council burning brighter than any weapon. For the children who never saw their parents again, transmitted Captain Ziktalar of the liberated Corvin resistance. For the worlds they sterilized to make examples, added Commander Yulnoth of the Drakmari freedom fighters. For all the species, they told us were extinct, sang the battle choir of the Saroni collective. The Council fleet was not just facing military defeat, they were facing the accumulated anger of 1,000 years of oppression. High Counselor Velok tried desperately to rally his forces. All ships, concentrate fire on the human command vessel. Without their leadership, the Alliance will collapse. But, when the Council ships targeted the Thunder, they found it protected by a shell of allied vessels. Species that had never worked together before now coordinated their defenses with perfect unity. They shield the humans as if they were their own children, observed Prime Engineer Nexus with something approaching wonder in his mechanical voice. Because they see in humanity what they thought they had lost, replied Dr. Choi Yuna, her transmission, coming from the captured Council station. Hope for a better future. The battle raged for hours, but the outcome was never really in doubt. The Council fleet was designed to crush individual species, not to fight a coordinated alliance of dozens of different peoples. Their rigid tactics could not adapt to the chaos of Alliance warfare. One by one, Council ships surrendered or were disabled. Those that tried to flee found their escape routes blocked by more Alliance vessels emerging from hyperspace. Finally, only High Counselor Velak's flagship remained active. The massive dreadnought sat alone in space, surrounded by thousands of Alliance ships. This is your final chance, Admiral Wujin transmitted. Surrender now, and you will be treated according to the laws of war. Continue fighting, and we will take your ship by force. Velak's reply was filled with bitter defeat. What do you want from us? Justice, Commander Li Minho answered, speaking for all of humanity, and a guarantee that this will never happen again. The surrender ceremony took place on the Council station, which had been completely taken over by Dr. Choi Yuna and her team of liberated scientists. Representatives from every species in the Alliance gathered to witness the end of the old order. President Kim Dae-ho stood before the assembled Council leaders. His words broadcast across the galaxy. For 1,000 years, you ruled through fear, he said. You told species they were inferior, dangerous, or worthless. You destroyed entire civilizations because they dared to be different. High Counselor Velek, now stripped of his titles and symbols of office, sat silently as the charges were read. You committed genocide against the Taraxians because they could phase through matter. You enslaved the Klaxons because they bred quickly. You imprisoned the Hydrons because they could travel between dimensions. You quarantined dozens of other species for the crime of being unique. Dae-ho paused, looking directly at Velak. Today, that age ends. Today, we begin building a galaxy where diversity is celebrated, not feared. The new Galactic Alliance was very different from the old Council. Instead of a rigid hierarchy dominated by a few powerful species, it was a cooperative organization where every member had an equal voice. Dr. Choi Yuna was elected as the Alliance's first chief science officer, with a mandate to share advanced technology freely among all species. No longer would scientific knowledge be hoarded by the powerful few. General Park Minwoo became the Alliance Defense Coordinator, responsible for protecting member worlds from external threats. But unlike the old Council military, the Alliance fleet was made up of volunteers from every species, working together as equals. Captain Kong Ji-hoon was chosen to lead the Freedom Exploration Corps, dedicated to finding and liberating any remaining oppressed peoples hidden throughout the galaxy. The trials of the former Council leaders were broadcast across all inhabited worlds. Some, like Velek, were found guilty of genocide and sentenced to life imprisonment. Others, who had been lower-ranking officials, were offered the chance to help rebuild the civilizations they had helped destroy, but the most important change was not in government or military organization. It was in the fundamental philosophy of galactic civilization. We reject the idea that some species are naturally superior to others. Ambassador Park Suna announced in her address to the new alliance. We reject the notion that diversity is dangerous. We embrace the chaos of different ideas, different approaches, different ways of solving problems. Because it is in that chaos, added Admiral Wujin, that we find our greatest strength. 1 year later, Dr. Choi Yuna stood in her new laboratory on the Alliance Science Station, watching the first joint research project between former enemies. Human scientists worked alongside Valorian telepaths, Nexari engineers, and Klaxon biotechnicians. Project was ambitious, developing faster than light, communication that could connect every world in the galaxy instantly. It required the unique abilities of multiple species working together, something that would have been impossible under the old council system. How goes the research? Asked Captain Ji-hoon, who had stopped by during a break from his exploration. Missions, better than expected, Yuna replied with a smile. It turns out that when you combine human creativity, Valorian mental coordination, Nexari technical precision, and Klaxon biological insights, you can solve problems that seemed impossible. Through the laboratory windows, they could see the construction of the first Alliance colony ship. It was designed to carry volunteers from dozens of species to establish new settlements on distant worlds. Not conquest or expansion for its own sake, but exploration driven by curiosity and hope. The galaxy is finally free, Ji-hoon observed. No, Yuna corrected him gently. The galaxy is finally learning what freedom means. The story of humanity's rise from humiliation to leadership had become legend throughout the galaxy. But it was not remembered as a tale of human superiority. Instead, it was celebrated as proof that even the most powerful oppressor could be defeated when the oppressed stood together. Children of 100 different species learned the lesson of the Great Alliance, that diversity was not weakness but strength, that chaos was not disorder but creativity, and that the greatest victories came not from dominating others but from lifting them up. The Galactic Council had tried to humiliate Earth and force humanity into submission. Instead, they had awakened something that would transform the galaxy forever. They had awakened hope.